Well, hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Ashmit Kumar, and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Stocks rise for the third straight session. Sensex gains about 600 points. Nifty up nearly 200 points, hitting its highest level in 2 weeks. Nearly 10,000 people are dead across Gaza and West Bank as Israeli bombardment continues. Gaza City has been encircled and communication lines have been cut off. Top UN humanitarian agencies demand a ceasefire, calling the situation in Gaza horrific and unacceptable in a rare joint statement. State Bank of India reports strong loan growth and a sharp improvement in asset quality, but Bank of Baroda posts a sharp decline in margins and a jump in slippages and trims its growth outlook.
80 करोड़ गरीबों को मुफ्त राशन देने वाली योजना को भाजपा सरकार अब अगले 5 साल के लिए और बढ़ाएगी.
Government may incur an additional 15,000 crore rupees per year as Prime Minister Modi says he's extending the free ration scheme by another 5 years. Sources say that the government is within its FY24 food subsidy budget of 2 lakh crore rupees. China and Russia drag Fitch's overall growth estimates for 10 emerging economies down. However, 6 nations, including India, see an upward revision. India's growth estimate has been hiked by 70 basis points to 6.2%. Fitch highlights an improvement in the employment rate and a modest increase in the working age population forecast. Delhi government to implement the odd-even scheme for a week from next Monday as air quality remains in the hazardous category. Schools have been directed to suspend physical classes till November 10th, except for board years. Byju's reports the long-awaited FY22 earnings, but only reveals select financials. The EdTech company remains in the red with EBITDA loss of over 2,250 crore rupees. Quick commerce startup Dunzo's losses mount to 1,800 crore rupees as expenses rise fourfold. On the eve of elections in Chhattisgarh, Congress knocks on the doors of the Election Commission, accuses the Enforcement Directorate and the statement on the Mahadev betting app case a violation of the Model Code of Conduct. ED had accused Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel as accepting bribes just days before the elections. Well, straight to the stock markets where we saw green on the screen for the third straight session. Sensex gained about 600 points and the Nifty gained nearly 200 points at the end, at the highest level in 2 weeks. After a sharp sell-off, markets have been reclaiming lost ground over the last 3 sessions. Nifty Bank Index gained over 300 points. Mid-caps also gained in tandem with the blue chips. Meanwhile, State Bank of India posted a strong performance in the second quarter. Both net profit and net interest income beat estimates. Asset quality is the best in 8 years. Loan growth was in fact in line with the estimates. Chairman Dinesh Khara told CNBC TV 18 that the bank expects to see credit growth of 12 to 14% in this fiscal.
I will stick to the advice in terms of the loan book growth. We expect that our loan book should grow in the range of 12 to 14%, and that is the kind of the number which I would expect. Though of course this is a busy season now, and now we will get to see some better growth even in our retail loan book also.
Well, more from banking. The Bank of Baroda's shares slipped today after the bank posted a weak set for the second quarter. Net interest margins declined 20 basis points sequentially, while slippages for the quarter rose. However, profit did beat streets' expectations, surging 28% year-on-year, fueled by growth in deposits and advances. And while staying with earnings, beauty retail brand Nykaa reported a profit of just under 6 crore rupees. This was largely driven by other income of 8 crore rupees. Nykaa's revenue crossed 1,500 crore rupees at a growth rate of over 22%. Margins have expanded compared to last year and stand at 5.4%. Well, coming back to New Delhi now, Prime Minister Modi has announced the extension of the PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana scheme for another 5 years. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the government is likely to incur an additional expense of 15,000 crore rupees annually for extending this scheme. Sapna Das is joining us now with more details. Sapna, give us a sense of the burden that this will cast on the government and whether it's within the fiscal remit of the North Bloc.
Well, as of now, definitely within the fiscal limits of North Bloc, and the reasons are very simple. Way back in December last year, the government had actually tweaked the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, wherein they had removed that additional 5 kilo worth of free food grains in addition to what is available under NFSA. So the removal of that, has been a huge fiscal relief for the government. I think that continues despite the fact that the free ration scheme is now continued for the next 5 odd years. So a quick check on numbers, 15,000 crores is what the additional cost will be in terms of that 3 rupees and 2 rupees and 1 rupees that beneficiaries pay under PDS, to avail those grains. So it continues to be absolutely free. That will entail some around 15,000 crores, probably from the next financial year onwards. There is already an estimate for this financial year on as well. And basically that is part of your food subsidy bill of around 1.97 to 2 lakh odd crores. The government is expecting to be within that for the rest of the financial year. And as I just mentioned, the PMGKY was actually tweaked last December itself. And the free food grain scheme rolled out from Jan. It was supposed to expire in December. So before that, the Prime Minister's announcement has come for not a 1-year extension, but a 5-year extension. So that is what is making the difference. And that is what is making people sit up and take notice and ask these questions. That is it going to be fiscally, possible for the government? How much will be the burden? Not much is what we are indicating. 15,000 crores into 5, you have a number around 75,000 crores. Having said that, however, the procurement costs are also going up, and there are some incidentals that will unfold over the next, 1 or 2 odd years. So all said and done, the food subsidy will continue to be high and elevated, but definitely much lower than what the government had to pay during the COVID time, simply because the earlier PMGKY scheme was extremely expensive. That has now been tweaked. All that you're getting now is a free ration scheme for the next 5 years, but without that massive fiscal burden of the earlier scheme. That's what it is as of now.
Right, Sapna, thanks a lot for crunching those numbers for us. Let's move ahead now. The latest in the Go First insolvency case. Lenders will be meeting today to reassess the funding plan for the grounded airline. However, sources tell CNBC TV 18 that there are low chances of the airline's revival. Ritu Singh joins us now with the details. Ritu, give us a sense, how are the lenders looking at the road ahead?
Well, things aren't looking very good for Go First at this time, especially with the recent government rule, which very clearly stated that leased aircraft and engines will not be bound by a moratorium under the bankruptcy law. So this lenders meeting is crucial, coming at a time when there is uncertainty about the aircraft and a lot is riding on the pending case in the Delhi High Court on this matter. Now, lenders have to re-evaluate whether they're willing to risk giving more loans to the airline to help it stay afloat, especially with little interest coming from the suitors so far. Remember, we'd earlier reported Jindal Power is the only suitor to have submitted an EOI for Go First. Jetwings had later shown an interest, but it did not qualify. Now, banks we spoke to are not so inclined to sanction any more funds to the airline and told us very clearly that if Go First gets an adverse ruling from the Delhi High Court and if lessors repossess the aircraft, the revival of the airline is going to be a big question mark. And this, combined with low interest from the suitors, means banks are not really ruling out liquidation for the airline at this time. Remember, we had reported that banks had given an in-principle nod for about 450 crores of interim financing for the airline, but not all of this was sanctioned. In fact, banks had only released a limited amount of under 100 crore rupees to pay some salary dues and cover some aircraft maintenance cost. Central Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, those are the two key lenders in this case. IDBI Bank has very little exposure, and Deutsche Bank has made it very clear that it will not be participating in any further funding for Go First. Incidentally, today also marks the end of the 180-day deadline for resolution of the airline under the IBC. This is also going to be taken up in the lenders meeting today, and banks will likely seek an extension of that CIRP timeline while they remain in wait and watch mode.
Right, Ritu, we'll keep coming back to you for more on that developing story. Let's move ahead now. Ratings agency Fitch has raised India's medium-term potential GDP growth to 6.2% for 2023. The revision comes on the back of improved employment rate and increase in the working age population forecast. The agency has also touted India to have the highest growth potential among the world's top 10 emerging economies. Meanwhile, Cello World makes a strong debut on the D Street. The stock listed at around 830 rupees per share, recording a 28% premium over the IPO price of nearly 650 rupees a share. The IPO was subscribed nearly 40 times, led by interest from non-institutional investors and qualified institutional buyers. The stock ended about 20% higher than the IPO price. And grocery delivery firm Dunzo's losses widened to over 1,800 crore rupees for FY23. Quarterly expenses nearly quadrupled to over 2,000 crore rupees, led by advertising spends. However, revenue grew marginally to over 220 crore rupees. This comes just days after the company was reported to have experienced a major cut in valuation. An edtech firm, Byju's, reported an operational loss of 2,253 crore rupees for FY22. This figure is 6.3% lower than the loss reported in FY21. However, the company's revenue rose more than twofold to over 3,500 crore rupees. Byju's only reported select financials, though. The earnings are of Byju's core business operations and does not include its acquisitions. And well, in global earnings, Singapore-based bank DBS Group reported a strong set of numbers in the third quarter. The bank's quarterly profit rose by 17%, led by the high interest rates. The bank's net interest margins also rose by 2.2% in this same quarter. Meanwhile, Adani Group is looking to offload its entire stake in Adani Wilmar. As per reports, the conglomerate is in talks with various multinational companies to exit the company. Reports also say that the deal is expected to close within a few months' time. Remember, the company holds nearly 44% stake in Adani Wilmar, which sells products under the brand Fortune. Now, here's an interesting development. Just a day before the elections in Chhattisgarh, the government banned 22 illegal betting apps, including, importantly, Mahadev, which has caused a political stir in the state. This after Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar accused Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel of receiving money from the illegal proceeds of the betting app. The Congress is expected to approach the Election Commission over this same issue today. Baghel has denied these allegations and calling in for an investigation.
छत्तीसगढ़ पुलिस का एक पावर है उनके हाथ में कि वो अगर कोई इलीगल ऐप्स उनके पास जानकारी है वो बताएं सरकार को, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को, और हम ब्लॉक कर सकें। उन्होंने 1.5 साल से कुछ नहीं किया। उनको इसको खींचना था, इस इन्वेस्टिगेशन को, ताकि वहाँ उनसे पैसा ले। उनको 508 करोड़ पैसे मिले हैं इस ऐप से। क्यों मिले हैं ये वो बताएं। हमारे सरकार ने कल ईडी ने जो पहली बार इस ऐप्स के बारे में उन्होंने रिक्वेस्ट किया ब्लॉक करने में, हमने दोपहर तक उसको पूरे के पूरे 22 ऐप्स को हमने ब्लॉक कर।
इस आने पर तो अमित शाह जी और नरेंद्र मोदी जी हैं, वो अपने संबंध बता नहीं पा रहे हैं। आखिर उनके महादेव से उनका संबंध क्या है वो बताएं। उस पर कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं हो रही है, गिरफ्तारियां क्यों नहीं हो रही है? क्योंकि आपका लेन देन तो नहीं हो गया है।
Well, staying with the polls, the first phase of Chhattisgarh Assembly polls are set to be held tomorrow. Out of the total 90 seats, polling will be held for 20 seats in phase 1, including Bastar, Rajnaganda and Kabirdham. A total of 225 candidates are contesting in the first phase. And well, the government has notified the next round of sale of electoral bonds from today. This comes a day ahead of the polling season kicking off in Mizoram, with 20 seats in Chhattisgarh as well. Now, this comes just days after the Supreme Court reserved its judgment on the pleas challenging the electoral bond system. Petitioners in the Supreme Court have voiced concern over the government's decision, following which the Supreme Court said that it is looking into the matter. Well, more courtroom action. Petitioners in the Adani Hindenburg case have flagged the continuous deferment of the hearing before the Supreme Court. Petitioner said that the case was due to be listed on August 28th, but has been continuously deferred since. The Chief Justice of India led bench said that it will look into the matter. A few days after Kerala, Punjab and Tamil Nadu moved the Supreme Court against its governors not approving pending bills. The Supreme Court said that these issues must be sorted out between the chief ministers and the respective governors. The top court observed that governors should not be oblivious to the fact that they are not elected authorities. The court also said that governors must act before the matters reach the Supreme Court. Well, with that, we're heading into a very short break, but coming up on the other side, Delhi government to implement the odd-even scheme for a week from next Monday as air quality remains in the hazardous category. Details when we come back. Welcome back. You're watching Business 360. Now, nearly 10,000 people have died in Gaza since Hamas's surprise attack on Israel on October 7th and Israel's retaliatory strikes. As Israel continues to pound Gaza, its military said that it had encircled the city. The army also claims to have fired at 450 Hamas targets, killing several Hamas militants. In a rare joint statement, top UN humanitarian agencies termed the ongoing conflict as unacceptable and called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. In Gaza, Jordan's military personnel airdropped crucial medical aid to a hospital in Gaza overnight. Jordan's King Abdullah assured support for their Palestinian brethren over the weekend. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken made a surprise visit to West Bank and met Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to affirm the delivery of humanitarian aid. He also met leaders of Iraq and other Arab countries amidst fears that the conflict could spiral into a broader regional conflict. Blinken met Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan after President Erdogan declared that he was cutting off contact with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. While in Baghdad, Blinken said that Palestinian voices are key to the future of Gaza.
If you project forward to the future, what we all agree is that in defining that future, in shaping that future for Gaza, for the West Bank, and ultimately for a Palestinian state, Palestinian voices have to be at the center of that. The Palestinian Authority is the representative of those voices, so it's important that it play a leading role.
Well, we are now joined by Sky News' Deborah Haynes, who is in southern Israel. Deborah, tell us, you were taken to Gaza with the Israeli military. Could you tell us about the situation on the ground in Gaza?
We were one of the first crews to go in a couple of days ago now, and we were taken to a neighbourhood that's just around the outskirts of Gaza City. We were taken to a position that we were told it had been a residential home that had doubled up as a kind of Hamas assembly point, and now it's very much an Israeli position. But it was very, the immediate observations, it was obviously, we were only there on the ground for a limited time. Our reporting was subjected to Israeli reporting restrictions, and we had to sort of go where we were taken and then leave when we were asked to leave. But it was very notable that as soon as we stepped out on the ground, the gunfire was immediate and fairly close. We were told that there's some Hamas fighters, or some suspicious individuals nearby that they were shooting at, and then also the destruction. There was barely a building left standing in the area where I was. There was this crumpled piles of concrete. I was told that Israeli airstrikes had hit that area multiple times before the troops went in. And I was also told that the Israeli military believed that individual Hamas fighters from that area had been involved in that October the 7th attack. And the Israeli military saying overnight they've been launching more airstrikes, that their troops have now encircled the whole of Gaza City. They've split Gaza effectively from the north to the south.
Right, Deborah, thanks a lot for that. Now, coming back home, the air quality in Delhi NCR continues to be in the hazardous category. The Delhi government has ordered schools to conduct online classes for all students except those in the 10th and 12th standard until November 10th. Environment Minister Gopal Rai has also announced that the odd-even rule for private vehicles will be implemented from November 13th to 20th. However, the Delhi government is yet to take a call on the work from home for government staff and private offices.
BS3 की पेट्रोल गाड़ियां हैं और BS4 की जो डीजल गाड़ियां हैं उनके चलाने पे प्रतिबंध लगाया गया था। वो प्रतिबंध अब ग्रेप 4 के तीसरे चरण में भी वो जारी रहेगा। आवश्यक सेवाएं प्रदान करने वाली जो गाड़ियां हैं उनमें LNG, CNG इलेक्ट्रिक ट्रकों को छोड़ करके बाकी ट्रकों पर प्रवेश बैन कर दिया गया है दिल्ली के अंदर। अब दिल्ली के अंदर किसी तरह की कंस्ट्रक्शन डिमोलिशन गतिविधि को छूट नहीं है।
Well, amid the rise in air pollution in the national capital, the Delhi government has decided to implement the odd and even scheme between November 13th and November 28th. All construction activity will be banned and schools will remain to be shut till the 10th of November, apart from classes 10th and 12th. Well, from the past 4 days in a row, Delhi's AQI is falling under the severe category and most parts of the city on an average are reporting AQI levels over 450. Well, the Center for Air Quality Management also implemented draft level restrictions in Delhi, according to which entry of trucks into the city will be prohibited, apart from those that are carrying essential commodities or those trucks that are running on fuel like CNG or other alternative fuels. Well, we are seeing that there is a rise in the air pollution levels in the city because of rise in stubble burning in the nearby states of UP, Haryana and Punjab. And according to reports in Punjab, yesterday itself there were more than 3,200 farm fires, which has contributed to rising air pollution levels in the national capital. Well, the Delhi government will soon take another call regarding implementation of 50% work from home for government as well as for private offices.
Well, staying with air quality, Mumbai's air quality has continued to worsen with the overall AQI nearly touching 150. This is largely due to the ongoing construction activity in the city. Many areas in the city have reported an AQI above 250, which indicates poor air quality in the localities. The central government is expected to take stock of this situation and is set to convene a meeting with the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board later this week. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. The news and updates will continue on the other side.